I am so hyped to dive into Star Wars The Last Jedi, spoiler talking and everything. So if you want a spoiler-free review, check that link right there. You can check out mine, or go over to Cody Curtis's channel, and you can check out his, or why not do both? Because, you know, we both have awesome points of view on this movie. Right now, we're going to combine those points of view into an amazing spoiler talk. Welcome to Durbania. I'm Durbin, and this is our spoiler talk for Star Wars The Last Jedi. I say our spoiler talk because joining me is Cody Curtis. What is up, dude?
What's going on, Durbin? I'm so excited to be back. Okay, everybody, you know that Durbin and we've been talking about Star Wars, about the original trilogy, about The Force Awakens leading up to The Last Jedi, and it's finally here. It's finally time to go back to our beloved characters and talk about them once again. Durbin, I can't help it. I'm so excited. Let's just get this started.
Let's get this party started. I am super excited to dive into spoiler stuff and in more details about this movie, The Last Jedi. There were so many things I appreciated about this movie. Some things maybe I didn't care for as much, but that's not as important as the stuff that I thought was just overwhelmingly good. Now, Cody, you are just like the Star Wars dude over there on your channel. Like, you live, breathe, eat this stuff. Eat this stuff? That's weird. You love this stuff, so kick us off with your initial thoughts and feelings for Star Wars The Last Jedi.
So right up front, one thing I have to commend this movie on is Rian Johnson and his entire direction for this movie. From the way that he did the action sequences, to the way everything in the film looked, to the metaphors, to where our characters are driven and pushed in this movie. You don't feel like you're just watching events unfold. You feel like you are part of it. You are in the Resistance. You are in the First Order. You feel like you are in this world.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when you go back to Rogue One, and they have that famous line, "Rebellions are built on hope," no matter how cheesy that line is, there's still truth to that. And what I think they did such a good job with the opening of this movie with is that feeling of that hope is teetering by just a thread. I mean, kind of like, unlike the original trilogy where there's years between each movie, this movie picks up right where The Force Awakens leaves off. So right away, we're feeling the effects of, you know, the whole Republic being blown up by the rebuilt basic Death Star thing from The Force Awakens. And so we're feeling their pain. We're feeling that brokenness that they're feeling. And so their hope is just hanging by a thread. And the way this movie opens, the opening battle and the opening sequence, not only was it just a well-crafted space battle, not only did that just look totally awesome in every way, shape, and form, but in terms of the emotions, it really leaves you with that feeling of, oh crap, this is it. This is the last of them. And if they're squashed, it's the end. On top of the fact that starting here in the opening scene with our heroic pilot Poe Dameron, we begin an amazing character arc for him. He won't listen to the orders from General Leia because he's so trigger happy. He wants to take down that giant ship. Now, granted, they take it down, but they lose so many lives in the process. They lose the bomber fleet, like the entire bomber fleet. One bomber is able to take it out, but that's after they've all lost their lives. And so, yes, Poe pushed, and because of his push, they were able to take that out, but at what cost? Because it greatly shrank what is left of the rebellion. It greatly shrank what was left of their people. And so Poe kind of has to face that. And then we have the new general that takes over after, you know, Leia's unconscious and things like that.
That would be General Holdo.
But she was awesome. But at the beginning of this movie, I was kind of with Poe. I thought she was a jerk. I thought she had no real plan, and I couldn't quite understand what Leia saw in her. And when Poe did that mutiny on her towards the end, I was like, yeah, Poe, that's smart. Take this woman out and you take control. But then it turned out she was really smart. She had a plan in place that was going to save lives. And it turned out what Poe did put more people in danger than anything else. And it lost more lives than needed to be lost. And it, like, blew their cover and everything. And so this became a giant character arc for Poe Dameron, a way for him to grow in leadership and learn what leadership really is, that there's a balance. Just as this whole movie is about the balance in the Force. We have to learn the balance between the light side and the dark side. Poe Dameron has to learn a balance between blowing things up at the appropriate time and making strategic, wise calls. And so he's got to learn that balance. And that, to me, is the major theme of this movie. And you just see it in almost all the characters, almost in all of their arcs. That is what's playing out so much. All of them learning a balance. And so I thought that was incredibly interesting on top of so many other things.
100% Durbin. Poe Dameron's arc in this film is very, very home-hitting, because yes, we get the beginning where we see Poe Dameron. He's that same guy that we loved from The Force Awakens. He's trigger happy, he's joyous, he's ready to get out there and fight. But after the battle on top of the Elenian system, Princess Leia, she just goes after him. She says, you put more lives at risk than you were trying to save. It's like this rebellion doesn't even matter to you because you're on your own vendetta right now. And she demotes Poe Dameron. And then after Leia gets knocked unconscious, of course, General Amilyn Holdo takes over, and she says to Poe, you know, I've known many flyboys like you, many trigger-happy flyboys like you, now get off this deck. And we see as the story progresses, Poe becomes more and more knowledgeable as things go on, and Oscar Isaac's work is really phenomenal, like every other person's performance in here. But he goes from being this really semi-arrogant pilot to somebody who you could see completely taking over the rebellion from Princess Leia and leading them to victory. And of course, Poe Dameron's arc isn't the only powerful one here. You look at the entirety of The Last Jedi. My favorite arcs in the entirety of this one, although I will say I love Finn, I love the introduction of the new character of Rose, their story in this was a little bland to me.
I think I agree with that. The Rose story, I think it added an unnecessary love triangle that I don't care about, but it wasn't like the worst plotline.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it's not just that. The Cato bite scene, when they go to that casino planet and they free those horse-like animals known as the Farthers. Look, although it was fun, it was the slowest part for me. But getting down to the major arcs in this film, Rey, Kylo Ren, Princess Leia, Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker himself, there is so much power within this story. And guys, we need to talk about Mark Hamill's portrayal as Luke Skywalker, because what he did in this film, as far as Mark Hamill and the character of Luke Skywalker is concerned, award-worthy level performance. His arc, the pain that you see that Luke has gone through, it's just such a palpable thing. It's like somebody taking you and shaking you from the inside and out. It's just, this is an arc to where you see this isn't the Luke that we have grown to know. This is somebody who has dealt with pain, with suffering, with guilt, who is suffering here and now, who feels the weight of the world, who is completely shut out the Force, who is not the person that we once knew.
It is a brilliant arc. And the thing that's brilliant about it is, now, The Force Awakens, it went ahead and took a New Hope template. This one did not take an Empire Strikes Back template or a Return of the Jedi template. But something that was similar about it is, you go back to The Empire Strikes Back, and this is Luke's arc learning about the Force, learning how to connect to the Force, use the Force, listen to the Force. The Empire Strikes Back is our first major key to the Force and understanding it in this whole franchise. And we have something very similar happening with The Last Jedi, and yet again, it's happening with Luke Skywalker. Because just as you said with his moment of weakness and that moment of temptation, because he could see into Kylo Ren's mind, see the darkness and see what was forming there, and because he's familiar with that darkness, it brought fear to him. And so in one fleeting moment of temptation, he raised a lightsaber to strike Kylo Ren in his sleep, but stops because for him that emotion was fleeting and he realized, this is stupid. But Kylo woke up just to see that lightsaber lit, and so Kylo saw this from another perspective and freaked out. So because of this one tiny mistake from Luke that he really in his heart repented of in 1 second, now we have Kylo on this dark path, and this puts Luke in all this depression and all this stuff. And so what's interesting is now that Luke has kind of sequestered himself off from the Force, like he's closed himself to the Force, living alone on that island for the Jedis and things like that, he's getting a new perspective on the Force when Rey shows up. And he's learning that the Force, as an empty religion, the way that Jedi did it, the way they would put empty religion, empty rules, and empty regulations all over it, there's something about that that is just not right. There's something about that that gives an edge to the dark side. So this is Luke trying to find what is the Force really. How do I really connect with this? And what is this really about? To me, that's the difference between religion and relationships. So here's a little insight into a theological analysis that is just budding in my mind with this movie, where you have empty traditions and empty religion, and it just breeds emptiness, making it easier to cross over to the dark side. But here's Luke now kind of waking up from that and going, the time of the Jedi must end. So what is the Force really? And I feel like you really get that when he has Rey close her eyes. What do you see? Reach out with your feelings. What do you feel? And she's talking about how she sees the Force in between spaces, between light and dark and sea and land and on all that stuff. And it's so interesting to me because this is where he's like, well then, why do we need these Jedi rules and religion? It's about the Force, and this is what the Force is. And that was such an interesting perspective to me. Then you have Rey, who's growing into the Force, trying to learn it herself and figure out what it is. And she has like the real heart of a Jedi. You have Kylo Ren, has a conflict within. And so like we have these 3 different perspectives, these 3 different angles by which we're digging into the Force. And to me, it was just so brilliantly written.
Brilliantly written is a bit of an understatement, Durbin, because I think we can both agree what happened in this film, the way that Luke Skywalker rediscovers the Force and rediscovers his faith, essentially, is very, very beautiful. And what I enjoy, one of the messages is in this film, is that it shows is that without evolution, without change as we are going along, our species is eventually going to die out, and that's what happened with the Jedi, is the fact that, Luke, it's time for the Jedi to end. The old ways of doing things, it got the Jedi Order destroyed. And now, they're finding out that for a Jedi, because in the olden days, showing emotion, showing love, all of this stuff was just such a bad omen for them. But the way Luke shows it in here is having emotion and showing that deep emotion, to use it as a study point, to use it as a tool to study the Force, to study the people around you. It's something that can make you the strongest version of yourself that you can ever be. And we not only see that with Luke and Rey for the good side, we see that big time when it comes to Kylo Ren on the dark side. And man, I think it's time. We need to talk about the encounter between Rey, Kylo Ren, and Snoke.
Oh my gosh. First, I gotta say, what a brilliant way to establish a connection between Rey and Kylo. That for the first chunk of this movie, they are mysteriously connected by the Force. And we're finding they're getting kind of a strange bond. Like they're forming a kind of strange friendship through this odd connection that they have with the Force. To the point that Rey, touching his hand, sees his future, and she believes that future is he will turn to the light side. And what I liked was the nostalgic callback to Return of the Jedi, where Luke felt the conflict within Vader. She feels the conflict within Kylo and believes she can turn him, which leads to that brilliant line from Luke Skywalker.
This is not going to go the way you think.
What I thought was so interesting also was the reveal that Snoke was the one that connected Rey and Kylo through the Force so that they would develop this bond. And this bond itself would be a snare and a trap to lure Rey out. And I thought that was just so clever. Not just on Snoke's part, but just clever writing in general for the script. And then what was so awesome was when Snoke thought for sure he was reading Kylo's mind. And he knew that Kylo was going to point the lightsaber at Rey and kill her because he's saying, oh, I know his every thought and intent, and now he will aim the lightsaber at his true enemy. And then in the Force, the lightsaber that belonged to Luke is turning towards Snoke and then flips on and kills Snoke. I did not expect Snoke to die at all in this movie, and what an epic death that was. And then when Rey and Kylo teamed up to fight the dudes in red, that was just an incredible lightsaber fight, an incredible team up. And I thought, what a surprise. Kylo Ren turned towards the light side. Sucks for Han Solo, dang it. But, you know, I mean, he could have turned in the last movie? That sucks. So I'm like thinking how excited I am. But this is a testimony to just how far gone Kylo is. He said goodbye to everything. Goodbye to the First Order. Goodbye to the Jedi. Goodbye to the Sith. Rey, let go of it all and join me. Let's create our own order. And right there, it's lost. That's why they killed off Snoke. Because Snoke isn't the supreme leader, really. It's Kylo Ren. This dude is powerful on the dark side, and he's just hardened his heart. He has utterly given himself over to it. And that was another incredible surprise in that scene, that just when I thought Kylo was going to turn to the light side, no, he's really just gone deeper into the dark side.
Snoke, he would have been a great villain for the entirety of this new trilogy. But the fact is, this conflict is what we've been waiting for. It's the battle that is going to get us to the end of this trilogy. It's Rey versus Kylo Ren. It's those two, the ultimate good versus the ultimate evil, finally going up against each other. And there is something I absolutely love about this whole sequence, about this whole movie, and it's the way that Rian Johnson uses his cinematography and his color. Everything in this film has some kind of symbol to it and looks so brilliant. For one thing, when Rey is training with Luke on the island, we all remember that scene from Return of the Jedi where Luke is hiding from Vader and he has one half of his face in the light and one half of his face in the dark. There's a scene where Luke and Rey are talking to one another about the Jedi, about the past, about the Force. And it's that scene where Rey says, I need someone to show me my place in all of this. And her face is both in the light and in the dark, and so is Luke's, to show that Luke is still suffering from that conflict. But even though Rey, from the very beginning of The Force Awakens, she is good fighting against evil, fighting against Kylo Ren, she is still suffering, and she is still trying to figure out where she falls on the scale, either to light or darkness. And when it comes to this scene with the Praetorian guards, the guards in red, the blood red uniforms, if we look at all the uniforms that everybody in this scene is wearing, everybody except for Rey is wearing a color that we symbolize as something of evil. Kylo Ren, completely wearing black. The Praetorian guards, like I've already said, blood red. Snoke's entire throne room is blood red. And Snoke himself, disheveled, sinister, and his cloak, almost the exact same shade of yellow as the color of the eyes of those who are on the dark side, who are on the Sith. Rey, she is wearing white, and she is also wearing blue, which are symbols and colors that we represent to be good, wholesome things. And she's going up against this great evil around her. And the thing that I love most is just the fact that she is doing what she believes is right. Very much like very much like Luke in Return of the Jedi. Even when she cannot get her lightsaber, she draws over and grabs Kylo Ren's and goes to attack Snoke, to do what is right, to try to bring order to the galaxy. There is so much symbolism and so much beauty to this whole sequence. And now, although this scene is beautiful, there is one more powerful scene we need to talk about in this part of the film. And that is Amilyn Holdo's great sacrifice, beginning when she and Princess Leia have the interaction, and Amilyn Holdo are going to say goodbye. And you know Princess Leia wants to say, "May the Force be with you," but she says, I have said that enough, so I'm just going to be quiet. And Amilyn Holdo says, "May the Force be with you." And I don't know about you, Durbin, but hearing Carrie Fisher say that, hearing Laura Dern say that to Carrie Fisher, knowing that we would lose her, that we lost her, that was quite the emotional scene for me, especially knowing what Laura Dern's General Holdo would do next.
Oh my gosh. And everything about what she did. I mean, just from the visuals and how beautiful it looked to just what they did with the sound design in that scene. Like, she aims the ship at Snoke's ship. She aims her ship at Snoke's ship. And when she hit that warp drive, man, and just went right at that thing full speed, first off, I couldn't believe it. And one of the things that made it so powerful was we're kind of getting Laura Dern's character through the eyes of Poe Dameron. And so, like Poe, I thought she was a jerk in the beginning. And then, like Poe, finding that she was really smart and had this incredibly smart plan, this newfound respect starts to grow and bubble up. And then, when she sacrifices herself to save the fleeing ships, it's like 10 times more powerful. And then, when all the sound drops out, and that ship shoots like a freaking bullet and cuts Snoke's ship in half, it was incredible. It was incredible we did that without sound. It was incredible they did it with no slow motion effect. It was just like literally like that. Like a jump cut almost. 1 minute the ship was there. The next minute Snoke's ship is cut in half. And then the lighting around it, the kind of silhouette picture of it, like that just looked so unbelievably amazing. And they packed it with so much emotion. And again, part of that was getting Laura Dern's character through the eyes of Poe Dameron. And seeing it with that kind of newfound respect and that kind of surprise that he had towards her heroic deeds, towards that heroic action that she just did, it just made it all that much more powerful. I mean, don't you think that too?
During that entire sequence, there is such power there. But guys, here's the thing. There is power there, but there is also something I did not like. And it's nothing about what we've just talked about. It's the Finn and Phasma arc. Everything that happened with Finn and Phasma, she's the one who raised Finn. She trained him as a stormtrooper to be this person for the Imperial Army. So she's kind of this mother figure for him. I was half expecting Han to come back as a Force Ghost and say, "Hey, is there a trash compactor around?" I mean, Captain Phasma, I can't even see what was the point of her in either of these movies now. And it's a shame.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. The whole Phasma thing, I just never understood the hype that is behind her character. And I think she has potential to be really, really cool. Like, she could be an awesome character. And like you said, the weight should be there. They didn't build that.
Yeah, it's an irritating thing, especially when we see it in so many movies nowadays that have so much potential, but in reality fail so hard. But that's not this movie, because now we need to talk about the thing that does have power. We need to talk about when Luke goes to destroy the tree where the sacred Jedi texts are. The reason is, when Luke is heading up the steps to go burn this sacred tree to the ground, we see some pointed green ears from behind, and Luke turns around and brings us back to the original trilogy, and he says, "Master Yoda." And right there, Frank Oz is Master Yoda.
And it was the puppet. It was the puppet. It wasn't the weird CGI guy. It was the puppet.
It was the puppet, and let me tell you, there is so much heart to Master Yoda. And of course, Master Yoda in his Master Yoda-like way says to Luke, because Luke's complaining to Master Yoda after just destroying this sacred tree that had the sacred Jedi text in it, Master Yoda says, "Read them, did you? Page turners, they were not." Fact is, this scene is important not just because of that, but when Obi-Wan Kenobi said to Vader, "If you strike me down, I will become more powerful than you can possibly imagine," we never actually saw the power that these Force ghosts can have. Until now. What Rian Johnson has done is show the power of the Force Ghost, because Master Yoda, he calls down, snaps his fingers, and calls down lightning. And that lightning destroys this sacred tree, and it was beautiful to behold.
It was pretty awesome. That whole scene was epic, and I actually did not think about it in that light. That just shows the power of these Force ghosts. Back to what Obi-Wan said, strike me down, I'll be more powerful than you could imagine. So, yeah, that's awesome catch. I can't wait to see this movie again and now have that in the back of my mind when I get to that scene. But the other thing that was just so great about that scene is it keeps Luke Skywalker built up as this legend. He is the legendary Luke Skywalker who helped defeat the Empire, who is a Jedi hero of legend, but it also humanizes him. And we see that he can make mistakes. He has temptation. He's not a perfect person. And so this connects us to Luke on a human level. While, so we watch him still learn lessons, and then we get to the finale of this movie where he shows up at the very end with tremendous power. And because of this, yet again, another life lesson from Yoda, we continue to have this respect and this human connection to this absolute Jedi legend. Which just brings me to one of my favorite scenes in this movie, if not my absolute favorite, the Kylo Ren, Luke Skywalker face-off. I mean, the whole time we're getting to the end of this movie and we're in the final space battle, they make it down to the planet, and then the bad guys show up down there. The whole time I'm thinking to myself, where's Luke? Where's Luke? Where's Luke? Where's Luke? Where's Luke? I know he's going to show up. Where's Luke? And when he showed up, oh, it was so epic. It was epic with him and Leia having a touching scene together. It was epic with him giving a nod to C-3PO. It was epic, him stepping out on that field and all those guys shooting at him, and then he just wipes the dust off his shoulder and it's like, come on, Kylo. I mean, he didn't say that, but you know it's there. And then finally, Kylo comes out to face him. And the way they did that lightsaber fight, on the one hand, you could tell Luke's a little older guy. He can't move like he used to. On the other hand, he is reconnected to the Force, and this dude is strong in the Force. And Kylo just could not lay a finger on him. Couldn't land a single shot. I mean, yeah, Luke wasn't actually there. He was projecting an image of himself through the Force, but that's not the point. The point is, even if he was there, the way that he was moving, Kylo was unable to touch him. And, that whole scene was incredible. But now we have this awesome emotional weighty thing going on with Luke showing up to face him and fight him, but also to apologize for his moment of weakness, to apologize for that moment of failure, and the humbling of Luke in that moment while fighting Kylo to distract everybody so our rebellion can escape. So powerful on so many levels.
I cannot agree with you more. Once again, symbolism here, guys. Symbolism. They're on a field of salt, and whenever pressure is applied to that salt, it turns red. It's like the white on top is the surface level stuff, and the red is what's underneath. And when Kylo Ren is facing Luke, Kylo Ren will step on this salt, and it's red everywhere. And when Luke Skywalker is on the salt, it's completely white. Applying any amount of pressure, call it the Force, call it what have you, because we know that Luke is using a tremendous amount of force to show a clone of himself there. And that clone of Luke may or may not be applying pressure to the salt, but either way, he's not making any red marks in any of the white salt that is there, and it's phenomenal.
I was back and forth. I had predictions that Luke was going to die, but I wasn't sure if Luke was going to die. But the way that they killed Luke off, that it was so much energy for him to use the Force to project him over there. And he gave his life just to be a spark to ignite hope back to the rebellion, just to give them a chance. That was such a powerful way to say goodbye to Luke Skywalker. And crazy to think that with the prequels, we have a movie where Luke was born, we have a trilogy where we watch him come into his own, and now we know how his life ends. It is just so crazy, the cycle we've been through with this entire saga, and it was just such a powerful moment.
Absolutely, Durbin. The entire arc that we got with Luke Skywalker throughout the entirety of these movies is something, once again, it is powerful. It is palpable. It is something that you feel down in your core because we have watched this character. We have grown with this character so much. And the way he went off, although it is sad, it is very, very meaningful. And I wouldn't want him to go off in any other way, especially the symbolism. Because we know at the beginning of A New Hope, Luke was looking out at the two suns. He was looking at the sons of Tatooine as his journey was about to begin. And as his journey comes to an end, as he gives himself over to the Force, we see two sons once again. The poetry and the symbolism here bringing everything to a head. I wouldn't want it any other way. And it just wraps up this story so perfectly.
It really is amazing. There's so much that could be said about this movie. So much that we could dig into. And there might be one or two other negatives I might have, but I don't want to even come close to ending on that note because overwhelmingly, I thought this movie was good. I'm excited to see it again. And I can't wait till we get to episode 9. I'm just beyond excited. So how about you? Are you beyond excited? Let me know in the comments where you are with this movie, whether you liked it, whether you didn't like it. Let's have a conversation together about this. Hit that subscribe button, and also next to it, hit the bell so you're notified the moment I drop another movie review, a theological analysis, ranking video, trailer reaction, or whatever else. And go to Cody Curtis's channel. His channel is fantastic. Subscribe over there. Cody, tell us what you do on your channel.
Well, what I do on my channel, guys, if you search it on YouTube, it's just Cody Curtis. Should be the first thing that pops up. But I do movie reviews. I love doing a ton of collaborations with my YouTube pals. And I just love talking Star Wars. Durbin's right. I eat, live, and breathe Star Wars. I've been talking about Star Wars for quite a long time now, be it canon books, be it Star Wars Rebels, or just doing these collaborations with Durbin. I love Star Wars. And of course, if you guys want to contact me besides YouTube, I'm also on Twitter at _Cody_Curtis, or you can find me at Snapchat, Instagram, and the Stardust app at Cody Curtis.
I just started on the Stardust app too, so I'm pretty excited about that. That's kind of fun to be playing on that one.
It absolutely is. And if you guys don't know, Stardust app, if you guys don't want to do big reviews, Stardust app, if you have a TV show or a movie you like to talk about, it gives you a 1-minute time period to just blurb out and say what you felt about the movie. So if that sounds interesting to you, I highly recommend you picking up that. But in all honesty, guys, you rock. Durbin, thank you so much for going on this Star Wars journey with me. This has been a fantastic ride. And guys, as always, may the Force be with you, and I'll see you all next time.
Cody, thank you for going on this journey with me as well. It has been an absolute Star Wars blast. Hope to bring you back for a spoiler talk of episode 9. And of course, we're going to do other stuff in between. I'm just, in terms of Star Wars. Anyway, I'm excited about all this stuff, so make sure you hit the subscribe button on both of our channels. I'm Durbin.
I'm Cody.
Thanks for checking out Durbania.